let me talk about the cloud. Now, I don't think there's any question that Microsoft, again, I'm not beating Microsoft's drum here. They do a great job of that. But in terms of enterprise cloud leadership, it's not obvious who has better assets than Microsoft. But there's this issue of execution that is important as well. Um, Here's one other kind of, I should give you the marketing slide alert. Okay, so I borrowed this. It's actually a pretty good slide. Um, but there's no question. I mean, the market momentum for cloud it's a, I don't know, a juggernaut, a tornado, a tidal wave, not whatever. Pick your adjective. There's a lot of growth in cloud investment. There's a study that IDC did. It's in the links on the website, and I'll review this with you. It's actually quite good, and I've got a link to it. So certainly explosive growth forecasted, and if anything, this may be conservative. So 27% annual growth over the course of 5 years. That's what, like a tripling in the market. So from 21.5 billion to say 72, 73 billion. Again, according to the IDC study. Now, Microsoft, if you think about the workloads that are taking up this increased cloud activity, Microsoft's pretty well positioned for all of them. So things like conferencing, collaboration, document management, obviously that's the sweet spot for Office 365 with things like Lync and SharePoint, and the inclusion of the web conferencing with the addition of Office 365 we'll talk about in a minute. And then, CRM and ERP, Dynamics CRM Online, obviously been in the cloud for a long time. Got a great story to tell about that. And one of the big announcements about the ERP products at Convergence was, I'm going to get this wrong, but I think it is I think it's NAV and GP that are going to have cloud versions in the R9, so the fall time frame. I could be wrong about that, but two of the ERP apps for Microsoft are going to have cloud availability for. Now, a little bit more specifically about Dynamics CRM, what you're going to start to see, and I think this was probably the most significant sort of cloud-centric announcement at Convergence, is the increased integration that you'll see with Dynamics CRM and Office 365. I put the breakout here. The Microsoft slide compared this $64 per user per month for Microsoft with the 65 to 250 bucks per user per month for Salesforce, but that's just Salesforce. That's without Exchange and SharePoint and Office and Lync. So the 64 bucks a month, I sort of scratch my head, but it actually works out because the Office 365 bundle that gets you that is 22 bucks a month. So you add that to the 44 bucks a month per user for the CRM online subscription. So that's where that $64. So certainly from a per user per month standpoint, the Microsoft bundle is, Dynamics CRM was already more than price competitive with Salesforce, but if you throw in Office, the story gets even better. So I don't think there's a question about that. Now, the interesting thing is, how this actually gets executed. So the scenarios are compelling, and I just don't think there's any question. The small to medium businesses over the next couple of years, most of them really should be. At least they got to be looking at a cloud sort of the deployment model for certain of their applications, the infrastructure requirements for on-premise and all that sort of thing. The economics are getting better all the time for the cloud. And so this Office 365 plus Dynamics CRM plus ERP combo is going to be pretty compelling. Now, what's new is that, and this is something that I'm pretty Dynamics CRM centric, and our production CRM is in the cloud and has been for a long time. So I would miss this second bullet point. But if you're an Office 365 customer, you can purchase Dynamics CRM right now. It's available now through Office 365. So you can, through the Office 365 administration portal, you can now administer Dynamics CRM users. If you purchase Dynamics CRM through Office 365, users will get the single sign-on experience through the Office 365 portal. And taking it a step further, you can even get single sign-on by leveraging your Active Directory investment by following this simple 10-step process. Now, I'm always suspicious of 10-step processes that, have small print to begin with, but then steps 5 through 9, set up Active Directory synchronization, are kind of collapsed into one step. I think this is probably a little less simple for most organizations than you might hope. And I think this is one of those areas that will definitely provide some challenges to customers, probably some opportunities to consultants and partners to help people out actually figure out how to navigate this. Because what you have now is a scenario where there are a lot of customers are going to have a triple sign-on experience. So think about what we've had. The traditional CRM online approach and still does has and still does required Windows Live as its identity, its authentication mechanism. Office 365 has its own identity. There's MS Online User ID that you provision through the Microsoft Online portal, and then most organizations already have an investment in Active Directory. So how do you solve this problem? Well, the way you solve the problem is you can go through this process. Here's your single sign-on 10-step process, but in the short term, this is a non-trivial thing, and especially so for organizations that have deployed on CRM Online and are moving to this. I think there's going to be I'm not even sure there really is a roadmap yet for how to take an existing CRM Online organization and kind of plug it underneath Office 365 portal. If anybody knows of that, I'd actually be interested in learning about that, because I haven't really seen anything about that yet. So there's definitely some challenges as we move from this the current regime to the sort of the ultimate single sign-on regime. Okay, now a couple of things that I want to leave you with, and then we'll have time for Q&A if anybody has any questions. There's a whole bunch of links to support the stuff that we talked about here. I mentioned the links available on the trick bag. The first link here, if you want to just read one thing to summarize, kind of get the big picture from what we talked about, that's the release preview guide. Dynamic CRM SQL 20. This is what I mentioned. Some background on the scalability, performance issues for SQL Server. There's the single sign-on, step-by-step process. Marketplace and Codeplex. I just want to review those and make sure you know where to look. And I'm going to go to the highlights links and do this. So I showed you the Dynamic CRM Marketplace link. Codeplex is a place that this is an open source site. And if you do a Codeplex search for CRM 2011, you will find a lot of solutions. The marketplace is getting better. For a long time, there was a sort of a kind of an echo in the marketplace, cobweb kind of a feeling. There just wasn't much there. That's starting to change, but certainly Codeplex has a lot of stuff up here. There's a lot of these are managed solutions for the most part. People have developed for dynamic CRM, and of course you don't get the same level of quality control in Codeplex either. So you have to be a little bit careful and do your due diligence and be careful. There's definitely some good tools up here, and you'll start to see there are plenty of, for example, there's lots of social integrations that are already available in Codeplex that have been developed by some consultants and partners and independent software vendors and people like that. But so that's Codeplex. I encourage you to check that out. But if you want to keep an eye on what's coming from Microsoft, specifically in the CRM in the 2012 Q2 timeframe, that's what's in the marketplace. So keep your eye on what's in the marketplace. Okay, now social analytics. I mentioned that. That's used to be called Vancouver. That's in the R9 timeframe. I encourage you to check that out. That's the API. That if you're interested in that, they also have a client app that they call it the engagement app that you can use to see what people are saying about you or your products or your company on Twitter and the social media sites and things like that. And there's the link to the IDC study down there at the bottom. So with that, we finished plenty of time for questions, partly because I didn't take any breaks, and partly because I probably talked really fast. So when you run the recording, you might want to slow it down a little bit. Um, but I got time for questions, and it looks like there's nothing in the queue that hasn't been dealt with. So Nick, it looks like you, because I saw questions throughout, Nick, it looks like you were doing a pretty good job of dispensing with those questions. Okay. The sitemap editor is something that I would probably get from Codeplex. If anybody's tried to work with that sitemap editor, I'll show you what I would do. If I can find it, here we go. I got a Codeplex. The sitemap editor that, well, actually, no, I take it back. I use this tool here. Notice that the first two things that come up, is this based on, what's this? Based on page views, popularity? I'm not sure what this is, how these are ranked. But this visual ribbon editor, this is a tool that I've used. Basically, if you want to do custom ribbons in Dynamics CRM, you can use that. And this is the sitemap editor that I've used as well. So I haven't got those from the marketplace. So whoever asked about that, you might want to try these, because I think these things, if you go to this is the sitemap editor. Let's see, when I download it, what is this going to be? I agree. Oh, sorry, I'm not shared out. Somebody should have reminded me. This is, whoever asked about the sitemap editor, if you do a search in Codeplex for Dynamics CRM 2011, it's the very first thing that comes up. You can see it here. And if you click it, and then click the download link here, this is a managed solution, I believe. So you download this and then just import the sitemap editor.zip. I believe this is a, see, it says, I know the visual ribbon editor is it's a standalone executable, but I think the sitemap editor, it may be a standalone executable. Most of these things are managed solutions that you import, but the visual ribbon editor, this is a standalone executable. But anyway, things like this I would get from Codeplex, probably not the marketplace, although I'm not sure what's up in the marketplace for that. So I hope that answers your question. Any other questions from anybody on these or other topics? You can do it by, if anybody has a question, feel free to shout it out by voice. I don't think I've got everybody muted now. You should be able to unmute yourselves. Yeah, I believe. Let's see. Yeah. No questions? I will circulate, if anybody's interested in the slide decks, what I'll do is I will, I'm not going to send them out to everybody because I suspect a lot of you probably wouldn't want them. But if you email me, I'll email you the deck. Happy to do that. And I will circulate an email to everybody that signed up when the recordings are done and posted. And I'll remind you again about the deck in that email. I just won't attach it for everybody. No questions? I'll stick around for a few minutes just in case anybody decides. If you're being shy, that's fine. I'll wait, and you can just ask me after everybody jumps off. But in the meantime, thanks so much for attending. I really appreciate you coming. And let me know if you have questions in the run-up to Q2 2012 release. And I'll let you know when we got the recordings posted. So thanks.